You're standing in a dark, cold cave 400,000 years ago. Outside, predators prowl in the shadows. Your stomach growls from raw meat that's hard to digest. Then, suddenly, a spark. A tiny, magical moment that would change everything about being human forever. The discovery of fire wasn't just another invention. It was the turning point that transformed our ancestors from clever primates into the dominant species on Earth. But here's the twist that'll blow your mind. The earliest evidence of humans actually making fire, not just using it, has just been pushed back an astonishing 350,000 years, thanks to a groundbreaking discovery in England. Before we dive into that incredible find, let's rewind even further. Early humans were probably gathering embers from wildfires ignited by lightning and carrying them back to caves. Imagine the courage that took. While every other animal ran away from flames in terror, our ancestors did something extraordinary. They got curious. Research on chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, shows they understand fire behavior well enough to monitor passing wildfires from just a few meters away, then move in to forage in burned areas. If chimps can do this, scientists believe even earlier ancestors, like Australopithecus, who lived around 4 million to 2 million years ago, probably had lost their fear of fire too. But understanding fire and controlling it, that's a whole different ballgame. The control of fire developed over more than 1 million years, progressing through stages, from harvesting natural fire to maintaining it, and finally to actually making it. This wasn't a light bulb moment, it was a slow burn spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Now here's where things get absolutely thrilling. In December 2025, scientists published findings in the prestigious journal Nature that rocked the archaeological world. At a site near Barnum in Suffolk, England, researchers discovered 400,000-year-old evidence of deliberate fire making, the earliest anywhere on Earth. What makes this discovery so jaw-dropping? They found tiny 2-centimeter fragments of iron pyrite alongside hearths from ancient campfires. Now, pyrite might not sound exciting, but here's the kicker. When you strike pyrite against flint at the right angle with the right force, it creates sparks. And get this, pyrite is incredibly rare in that area of England, meaning early humans had to transport it there deliberately. They weren't just stumbling upon fire anymore. They were planning for it, carrying the tools they needed to create flames whenever and wherever they wanted. Nick Ashton, an archaeologist at the British Museum who worked on the discovery, called it the most exciting discovery of my 40-year career. And honestly, we totally get why. The Barnum site had been known since the early 1900s, but recent excavations since 2013 uncovered something extraordinary. Researchers found a concentration of heat-shattered hand axes and a zone of reddened clay. That reddish color, it's what happens when soil gets heated repeatedly. But scientists couldn't just assume this was human-made fire. It might have been a wildfire, right? So they got seriously forensic about it. Geochemical tests showed temperatures had exceeded 700 degrees Celsius. That's 1,292 degrees Fahrenheit, with evidence of repeated burning in the exact same location. That pattern is consistent with a constructed hearth rather than a lightning strike. Natural wildfires don't come back to burn the same tiny spot over and over again. But humans tending a campfire? Absolutely. Dennis Sandgatha, an archaeologist at Simon Fraser University, emphasized the significance of all the dozens of sites across Eurasia and Africa with fire residues that have been excavated. Nobody had discovered pyrite before. This was truly unprecedented. So who were these brilliant inventors? The mystery deepens because no hominin bones have been found at Barnum itself. But less than 100 miles south, archaeologists found skull fragments from roughly the same time period that could have belonged to early Neanderthals. That's right. Neanderthals, those prehistoric cousins of ours who we once dismissed as primitive brutes, were actually innovative fire technologists. The humans living at this time had fairly large brains, and the Barnum site fits a pattern across Britain and Europe between 500,000 and 400,000 years ago, when brain size began approaching modern levels. This pushes back the earliest known controlled use of fire by humans by at least 360,000 years. Previously, the oldest confirmed evidence of fire making came from Neanderthal sites in northern France, dating to about 50,000 years ago. Talk about a massive leap backward in time. Now let's talk about why this matters so much. Fire wasn't just about staying warm or scaring away saber-toothed cats, though that was definitely a bonus. The ability to routinely cook food made it more nutritious and easier to digest. Think about it. Cooking breaks down tough proteins, kills nasty parasites, and releases way more energy from food. This meant our ancestors' bodies could divert resources from maintaining massive digestive systems to growing larger, more complex brains. Fire literally fueled our evolution. But there's more. Fire extended the day, creating illuminated spaces where people couldn't hunt but could gather, interact with each other, and potentially learn and teach. Around those flickering flames, something magical happened: the transmission of knowledge. Imagine the scene. As darkness fell and the fire crackled, experienced hunters could show younger ones how to make better tools. Elders could share stories about where to find food during different seasons. Children could learn which plants were safe to eat. The campfire became humanity's first classroom, our first community center, our first gathering place for innovation. Here's something fascinating that challenges our assumptions. The discovery of fire making wasn't a single technological breakthrough that spread rapidly, like wildfire across the old world. The development likely unfolded over hundreds of thousands of years through several stages. Different human groups may have discovered and forgotten fire-making techniques many times in many places over hundreds of millennia. It wasn't a straight line from darkness to light. There were probably countless moments where groups learned to make fire, only for that knowledge to die out when they did. Other groups started from scratch, experimenting with different methods, slowly building mastery. Before mastering fire making, early humans likely experienced a phase where they used fire passively, gathering, preserving, and transporting blazes ignited by natural causes like lightning or spontaneous combustion. Fire gathered from wildfires could be kept going for weeks, months, or even longer by carefully tending the flames and embers, which could even be transported to other sites. Now, in the spirit of scientific honesty, we should mention that not every expert is completely convinced. Some researchers like Will Robrooks from Leiden University acknowledge the excellent analysis, but suggest the authors may be stretching their claim about this being the earliest fire-making evidence. Science thrives on healthy skepticism. But even the skeptics agree the evidence is remarkably strong. The combination of pyrite fragments, heat-shattered tools, repeatedly heated soil, and the right temperature signatures makes a compelling case that something extraordinary happened at Barnum 400,000 years ago. What's mind-blowing is thinking about what came before. Claims for the earliest evidence of using fire, not making it, by members of the Homo genus range from 1.7 to 2.0 million years ago. That's a staggering amount of time between first using fire and learning to create it on demand. Sites in Africa, such as Chesawanja, Kubifora, and Olorgesailie in Kenya, show possible evidence of fire control by early humans, with findings at Kubifora suggesting Homo erectus used fire at 1.5 million years ago. But here's the frustrating part for archaeologists. Distinguishing between natural wildfires and human-made fires in ancient sites is incredibly difficult because they look very similar archaeologically. So what's the takeaway from all this? The mastery of fire represents one of the most profound technological achievements in all of human history. It's right up there with the invention of language, agriculture, and the wheel. Without it, we literally wouldn't be who we are today. The ability to make fire affected almost every facet of life and enabled later transformations like agriculture and metallurgy. From that first intentional spark struck 400,000 years ago, a chain reaction began that would lead to cooking pots, pottery, metal tools, steam engines, electricity, and eventually the device you're watching this video on right now. The next time you flip a light switch or light a candle, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey. Somewhere in ancient England, a Neanderthal carefully struck a piece of pyrite against flint, watched sparks fly into tinder, and gently blew until flames appeared. That moment of triumph, repeated over and over until the knowledge stuck, set humanity on a path that would eventually lead us from caves to cities, from firelight to starlight. Fire didn't just warm our ancestors' bodies. It illuminated their minds, brought them together in community, and sparked the innovation that makes us uniquely human. And now, Thanks to that remarkable discovery at Barnum, we know that spark was lit far earlier than we ever imagined.